Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he says further, he says, and he has what is in the skies and what is in the earth. He has what is in the skies and the earth. Can someone pass the chair over here? By his referring to what is in the skies and the earth, some of the ulama have said, why is it that he didn't say the skies and the earths? Skies is plural, but earth is singular. And it's because if the skies are mentioned in plural, this automatically intends that the earths are also mentioned in plural. Because sometimes the definite article alif lam used for something can refer to all of that thing rather than merely a portion of it or one of it. We find this example when Allah says, وَجَعَلَ الظُّلُمَاتِ وَالنُّورِ, and He has made the shadows or the darkness and the light. But He didn't say al-anwar, the lights, because it is understood that by the alif lam being in front of the word, that it is referring to all of that particular thing. And it is referring to all of that particular matter rather than a portion of it. And when the Exalted One is said, who is the one that will be making intercession in His sight except by His permission? This ayah is a clear refutation of the one who said, مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا, we did not worship them except to draw closer to Allah. Surah Zumar, the 39th surah, ayah 3. And Allah the Exalted has likewise said, He knows what is in front of them, what is in back of them. Now this particular ayah, the wording is a direct reference to all of the creation. Muqatil has said, the intent here is that He knows all of what is with, before and after of the angels. He knows all of that. And the intent of the word, whatever is in front of them and in back of them, also has three forms of wisdom that it is referring to. The first wisdom is that He, Allah, knows that which is in front of them, which is to come, which is the matters of the hereafter. And that which is to come after, that which is behind them, meaning that which is already past, although to them it is not. And this is the affair of the earthly life. This is narrated from Ibn Abbas and Qatada ibn Da'imah. The second point is that it is referring to that which is before them, in front of them. Because for them right now, the earthly life is in front of them because it is surrounding them. And that which is in back of them, for them, means that which is coming for the future for them. And this is narrated by As-Sudai from his sheikhs, Mujahid, Ibn Jurayj, and Al-Hakim ibn Utaybah. The third position is that which is coming before them is also referring to that which has come before their creation and has been preordained. And that which is after them is after their creation and what conditions they will undergo after the affair of their creation. And this has been narrated by Muqatil. Now, when the Exalted One says that they do not encompass Him in knowledge at all, Al-Layth ibn Sa'ad has said, this is said of every single one who is devoid of knowledge of the fullness of something. They cannot reach the furthest reaches of the knowledge. They do not encompass the knowledge. And by the intent of the word knowledge here, it is referring to that which is known and that which can be known. Close quote. So this is just a very important point. What Al-Layth ibn Sa'ad radiallahu anhu is referring to is when he says that they don't encompass his knowledge in anything, it means that all of knowledge which can be known, they don't have that. Their knowledge is only a portion. And all available knowledge that could be known, they still don't have that. They don't encompass all the knowledge. They don't encompass all the knowledge of everything that can be known. They don't have it. Their knowledge is only apportioned. It's very, very little. And when the Imam is referring to the fact what's in front of them and what's in back of them, it's referring to before their creation and after. Again, this is touching on the topic of al-qada wal-qadr, preordainment and destiny. Now we have to make sure to mention that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Malikul Mulk. He's sovereign in all matters. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the choice to make decisions, and we're punished if we commit sins, but we're rewarded if we do righteousness. Now the question will then come, well, how does that work out with complete sovereignty belonging to Allah, and He has ordained all things, وَقَدَّرَهُ تَقْدِيرًا, and He's ordained every matter clearly and it's laid out. That's going to be coming later. But what the author is emphasizing right now of this tafsir is just to get the general understanding that this is what's coming. This is what is here. This is what is on display. And that we should understand that Allah has control and power over all things, yet we are still culpable for our actions. Yet, if you do wrong things or sinful things, you can still be called to account. And if you do righteous deeds, alhamdulillah, you're still rewarded for those righteous deeds. The Imam rahimahullah, he then says, quote, and His Kursi surrounds, meaning that it completely overrides. Now there are 3 points to do with the Kursi that are in reference here. One is that the Kursi is above the 7th sky, under the Arsh. The Prophet ﷺ said, the 7 skies in comparison to the Kursi are nothing except like a ring that has been thrown out in an open field, as collected by Ibn Mardawayh and Ibn Jarir al-Tabri. This is the statement of Ibn Abbas according to the riwayah of Ata. Secondly, that the intent of the word Kursi is the knowledge of Allah. This is stated by Ibn Jubayr from Ibn Abbas. And thirdly, that the Kursi is the Arsh, as said by Al-Hasan. Close quote. So one of the reasons why this ayah is called Ayatul Kursi is because the appearance of the word Kursi in the ayah. But the scholars, they differ about the intent and all of what comes out of the word Kursi. One is that the scholars take 3 wisdoms from it. One is that the Kursi is above the 7th sky, but under the Arsh. Now, the scholars mentioned that there are numerous ahadith about the Kursi being compared with other things in terms of its size. But they say that because the Arsh, there aren't any comparative things of it to other things versus the sky and other things such as that the Arsh is beyond any human measurement because there's nothing of comparison to it. We also find that the word Kursi in reference to the Kursi, that it surrounds the skies and the earth. Okay, the Kursi surrounds the skies and the earth. Now, a lot of argument has occurred around the use of the word Kursi because people have read the word Kursi and they've seen the words in Ibn Abbas's tafsir, Tanwir al-Maqbas min tafsir Ibn Abbas, and it said, Mawda'ul qadamain, it is the place of the 2 feet. And another expression says, Sarirul Malik, when it refers to the Arsh. the place of the 2 feet, or the footstool. And the arsh gets referred to as Sarirul Malik, the seating place of the king. And so some later people have said, oh, this is Mawdu' al-Qadamayhi. This is the place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts his 2 feet. No, this is not what this means at all. When Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, Mawdu' al-Qadamayn, that means literally footstool. That literally means footstool. And Sarirul Malik, the place of the king's throne, is just referring to what it is. That's what he's saying. So in Arabic, he's translating from Arabic to Arabic. So Arsh in Arabic, what is the Arsh? It's referring to the Arsh. Kursi is referring to a footstool. That's what it means in the Arabic language. So he's translating from Arabic to Arabic. So you have Arabic dictionaries or qamus when they translate from Arabic to Arabic. They explain certain Arabic words that may seem unfamiliar. Now this became a big issue theologically in English in the last 20 years. Because certain people had said that, and by certain people, obviously, I mean Salafiyah, had meant that I shouldn't merely digress. I literally mean Salafiyah, just as they literally mean these words. That they understand that Kursi and these things are literal. So when you look in, say, the books by Sa'ad ibn Wafad al-Qahtani, in his commentary on Al-Aqidatul Wasitiyah, he affirms a number of attributes for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he says these are literal, these are sifatul haqiqiyah, these are literal attributes. That means that we know what they mean according to our frame of reference in our literal framework, and one of those things he mentions is al-qadamain, 2 literal feet. And he quotes that ayah as a proof. He quotes that ayah as a proof. Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, in his book Fatawa Arkan al-Islam, under his discussion on theology, when talking about the istiwa and the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, says that one of the meanings of istiwa and Allah being above his arsh is julus, sitting. Now this is completely incorrect, and no one held this position, but he quotes a statement from Kharijah, which is one of the 3rd age ulama, well 4th age ulama. That narration is not in the books at all. It doesn't exist. Kharijah existed, and Kharijah's discussion about istiwa, that exists, but that statement that it means julus and that he said that is non-existent, is a lie. I say this because, again, because of our framework and the time period that we're in, sometimes it's required to flesh out and clarify these matters. So when the scholars say that there's 3 things that we take from the Kursi in terms of what we are to believe, that it is above the 7th sky, under the arsh, we don't take anything further from that. It's property of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Kursi, the footstool, is property of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Footstool is still called a footstool whether there are feet there or not. It's called a footstool. A throne is called a throne whether there's anyone sitting on it or not. If that's the design that it's been made for, that's what it's called. We don't say, oh, therefore it must be. No, this is completely wrong. Our job is to affirm arsh. Because Imam Ahmed rahimahullah said very clearly in his book Al-I'tiqad, he said the words jism, the word jism, body. All words are taken from the revealed law. And they are rejected based upon how they fit. And the words and subject of the revealed law are taken from the Arabic language. The word jism, body, signifies breadth, height, depth, and size. Therefore, applying it to Allah is incorrect, so it is rejected. So, anytime you do that, you always look at the words in revealed law, and then you look at the application in the Ashab al-Arabiyyah, the actual keepers of the Arabic language, and what it meant. The second thing the Kursi refers to is the knowledge of Allah, as a statement by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, because it mentions that it encompasses and surrounds everything. So the Kursi is a synonym or byword for the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And third, some hold that the Kursi, it can also be a reference to the Arsh in certain circumstances, because Kursi can sometimes mean Arsh. If you look throughout the Qur'an, sometimes Allah uses the word Kursi as a synonym for Arsh. So it is correct in that framework. And that is what the ulama have given us. And that is all that we have to take from them. Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he has said, quote, "The Exalted One has said, and no one, and he is not wearied by preserving both of them." This means that there's no hardship upon Allah. Nothing harms him. Nothing causes him difficulty by the preservation of the skies and the earth. And this is a statement of Ibn Abbas, Qatada, and the Jama'ah with him. And as far as Allah being called Al-Ali, this is a direct reference that He, Allah, has given to His power, that He is above all, that He is dominant. Because the word linguistically means dominant, almighty. And we take that to mean, in the truest sense of Allah, being above and holy and majestic above all things. We should remember this, just as Allah has said, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arshi istawa. The most merciful is above the throne. Surah Taha, the 20th Surah, Ayah 5. And this aboveness has to do with Allah's majesty and His nobility. His nobility. It is said of someone sometimes, Ali, he is higher and he is above me. And it's referring to his status, his rank, and his nobility. And the meaning of the expression Al-Azim, the Arabic word, Al-Azim means the possessor of might, grandness, majesty. And when we say that the majesty and grandness, this is the right of Allah, the Exalted, the most noble right. It is His right. He is described with all perfection. This majesty and this power is completely described by what He deserves, and any other things that are referring to the might that may come from a creation or may come from created understandings of might are totally negated. Close quote. Now, it's just a very important point. Well, 2 points actually. So Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, when he's talking about the most merciful being above the throne, the word istiwa. The scholars of Ahmad ibn Hanbal's school are divided into 2 sections regarding this matter. The vast majority are those who say the most merciful is above the throne, and that's it. They don't even discuss istiwa, they say nothing. There is a smaller section which includes Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi, Najmuddin Al-Tufi, Muhammad ibn Muhammad Al-Sa'di, and in one narration, Mahfuz Al-Kalwadani, rahimahumullah wa radahu. And they say that when we say istiwa, it's referring to Allah's majd, His majesty and grandeur, His honor and His glory. So they interpret. All right? They interpret. It is one of the few times, almost without exception, all of the Ash'aris, they interpret this in this way. The vast majority of the Maturidiyya, they interpret in this way. For the Hanabila, the vast majority of them, they say nothing other than He is above the throne. That's what He said. We have nothing further to say. But this minority among them has said that this interpretation is valid. So it's one of the times where you'll see some interpretation from Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah. And this is again coming from his understanding within the school, because he wrote the book Dafa' Shubha Tashbih, in which, and his other texts on Creed, the Mu'taqad, where he discussed in detail the lengthy matter with regards to any difference of opinion and discussion around the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is going to come up later when you actually get to ayahs like Surah Al-A'raf, the 7th Surah, ayah 54, and other ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions istiwa, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th Surah, ayah 64, that His 2 hands are outspread. You'll find Imam Al-Jawzi rahimahullah for these and the vast majority of other cases having a very main line, say nothing, affirm it, and whatever it means, it goes to Allah. But in this particular case, he said it's majd and sharaf. And that has to do with his rank within the school. He was castigated for that because although it's not impermissible, a lot of the ulama were saying it's better not to open doors, because if we remember from the history course, part of the battle that occurred with the Mu'tazila and the rest of Ahlul Sunnah had to do with opening doors, with interpretation, Neoplatonist philosophy, the danger that some interpretation, although permissible, could overstep its bounds if continually used, and then could lead others astray. And this is why this has occurred. And so Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, although it was valid what he did, there was a lot of confrontation between him and some of the ulama in his time. There was confrontation between him and Sheikh Abdul Qadir Al-Jilani and Imam Muwafiquddin ibn Qudama rahimahullah. It's confrontation because of this issue. So Imam Muwafiquddin ibn Qudama rahimahullah, when he discusses him, he says he was a bearer of the Sunnah and an Imam in every science that he spoke in. We just didn't like it when he spoke and interpreted in certain areas of the Sunnah. They didn't say he was deviant. They didn't say he was Jahmi. They didn't say he was Mu'tazila. They said we just weren't happy when he spoke in these areas because they were concerned, because he wrote 2 thick books. One is Daf' al-Shubha Tashbih, which is a smaller treatment, and one is Kitab al-Akhbar, which is a thick, it's about 390 pages, and he discussed these matters in penetrating detail. And a lot of the authorities were not happy because they felt it opened doors that should have been closed.